Hi, my name is Sarah Stoes, and I am pleased to be presenting how Education 660 has helped me to become a better educator and to be more effective and efficient in my teaching. And I look forward to continuing to learn and grow and use the strategies and knowledge that I have gained from this course. I will be honest in that when we initially began this course, it started the same week that my students came back to school. And I am in a new school this year that is incredibly pro project-based learning. And so all of the research that I had been given leading up to teaching here has been project-based learning. And so when I was reading over explicit instruction and those kinds of things, I thought, oh boy, this is going to be really difficult to implement because that's not how our school seems to operate. However, I have been pleasantly surprised, and I've been able to keep some of the principles of project-based learning and incorporating in the explicit instruction strategies and techniques. And I feel like it's been a really good marriage to have kind of a combination of both. And my principal has been very supportive of this as well, because I've been able to show her the research and say, here's what the research says. And she's been able to come in and monitor and assess as well. So it's been a positive, overall positive experience. Probably the most beneficial thing that I have used from this course has been the active participation strategies. And there are a lot of them that Dr. Archer has highlighted, and that was the challenge, was which ones am I going to use, because I can't throw 15 new things at my kids at a time. I have to kind of choose which ones I want to use, and then really hone in on those and allow mastery before I add another thing in. And so just kind of keeping all of these strategies in my quote teacher toolbox to pull out and use as they master different things. But this is in the paper that I submitted, but this is a sheet that I have created to help me remember some of the different active participation strategies, and I've separated them into verbal responses and action responses and then written responses. And I have this sitting up. I have a doc cam station in my room, and I have this sitting up by my doc cam. And so if I need a quick active participation strategy and I can't think of one right away, or I want to get a little bit creative, then this allows me to have a really quick reference to that. One of my favorite active participation strategies has been the partner, think, pair, share, and then just the partner of numbering off ones and twos. And initially my students were not really excited about this if they were paired with somebody who is not one of their friends. But after we practiced, I modeled what it looked like, and then I practiced with a student, and then the students practiced with each other. So the I do, we do, you do, and I was able to go around and give feedback as they were doing that. Over time, they became really good at doing this. Not always thrilled, and that's okay, but they became good at doing it. And I was able to snap this picture of two of my kids in the middle of sharing. I had done a jot and share activity, and so they had jotted down some ideas, and here they are sharing with each other. And it's a nice action shot because both Carson and Allison in that picture are very, very engaged. And for the most part, I do see engagement when they are asked to do that. I've learned, though, that from Dr. Archer, that I have to make the assignment last forever. And so become an eternal assignment, because it's when those kids have the free time after they have answered the questions or engaged with their partner, then they're going to fill that void, and it's generally not in ways that are ideal to me. And so this particular fourth grade class, as wonderful as they are quite good at finding even minute voids and filling them. And so you really have to stay on top of them and be one step ahead of the game, and again, anticipate and remove. I feel like I do that probably more than I should, but it's been really helpful to do that. Another active participation strategy that I've really liked is using miniature whiteboards, and I didn't own any until this year. And when I started this class, I did buy them. And so the students keep these in their desks, and I use them primarily in grammar, which is Dr. Archer recommended you kind of pick one area and you use it consistently in one area. And so grammar is what I've chosen to do it in, as that is a subject that lends itself to easily jotting down, what is the preposition, or which preposition would you use to fill in the blank, and those kinds of things. And then they can hold and share when I give them the signal to do that. And it gives me really quick feedback as well, that I know, this whole group of kids over here really needs to review, what a preposition is, whereas this group is ready to move on and look at prepositional phrases. And so I can kind of differentiate my instruction based on those responses. I really like the choral responses as well, and I have implemented, when my hands are up, that is think time, and when my hands are down, then you may respond. And again, using these with short answer and short passage reading. So my kids know that anytime there are written instructions on an assignment, that they're going to be choral reading them with me. And 9 times out of 10, they'll say, we know our job is to keep our voice with yours. And so they're already in that routine. I really appreciated learning some of the reading strategies to include all readers that Dr. Archer presented. And the one that I probably use the most is when we are partner reading, I use the I read, we read. And students, giving them that option when I pair them, it depends on what the reading is and what the goal of the reading is, but I generally pair a higher with a lower, and I was surprised that I assumed that my lower readers would choose the we read, but some of them did not, and that's okay. But I have found that my students are more engaged, especially with that option. Now, I usually post focus questions on the board for them to be looking for and to be addressing as they are reading. The shrinking the paragraph down was really rough for them, and that's an area that we need to look on. So I've started with, these are some key questions that I want you to look at that are specific to this reading, and then I want you to have that discussion with your partner back and forth, and that's been a really great way to start that and then work into the paragraph shrinking strategy. Sentence starters were a new thing for me this year, and in the beginning of my teaching career, I was taught that teachers can beg, borrow, and steal as long as they give credit where credit is due. And so when I was looking for sentence starters to create an anchor chart, I wanted my kiddos to have an anchor chart of it, I found some that I really appreciated from a teaching blog done by 3 teachers called The Core Coaches. And this is the anchor chart that I have created, and it's hard to see on the screen, but it's also in my paper. But some of the sentence starters for the speaker are, I'm thinking, I learned, my opinion is blank because blank, I'm wondering, and then the listener can respond with, what made you think blank? I heard you say blank. How do you know blank? Can you explain blank? And then to build the conversation, there are building sentence starters that could go, I agree with blank because blank, or I would like to add blank, or I respectfully disagree because blank. And that's a good idea. Another idea could be blank. And this has been really good. And so I challenge my kids to pick one in each of those sections to really focus on throughout the week, and the next week pick another one of those until they become very fluent in those sentence starters. I feel like with this particular class, I'm doing a lot of anticipate and remove. So even a quarter into the school year, we're going to walk down the hallway. What does it look like, sound like to walk down the hallway? Remember, we are going to stay on the right side. This particular group really needs a lot of reminders as to what the expectations are. And so, I think the challenge is I could probably anticipate and try to remove all day long. So really focusing on what the important ones are that are going to cause the most disruption has been my challenge this year. I really love the idea of I do, you do, we do. That is not key in project-based learning, and so a lot of times they may try an experiment, especially in science first, and then I will model it for them afterwards, and then we'll do it again, and then they'll do it on their own again. And this allows multiple exposures to the experiment or the activity that we're doing, and they seem to do a nice job with it. I have found that in my 3.5 hours in the classroom a day that I do not sit at all. Not that I was a big sitter before, but the walking around the room, the talking around the room, and the looking around the room keeps me really busy. And I do appreciate it because I know what's going on with my students, and they know that I'm present and are more likely to stay on task and to actually engage and learn. So that has been really helpful. Many other pieces that Dr. Archer has taught in terms of ways that I can be more effective and efficient in my teaching, things that stick with me, teaching at a brisk pace, and responding with specific and immediate feedback, whether it be praise or correction. And that has been a challenge because the immediate and specific praise has been very easy to do. Sometimes the immediate and specific corrections are a little bit more challenging, and I find that it's because I want to move through quickly, right, to get to the next subject because time is a teacher's worst enemy. But I'm working on that. That's probably one of my biggest goals, is to become more specific in my corrections. So I am almost 2 minutes past my time, so I'm going to stop there. But thank you so much for your guidance this year, and I am excited to continue to use these strategies and the research that I have gained from Dr. Archer in this course. Thanks.